time, returning to the peace of my mind. Fear falls away, crack the shell of a new day.
Boy, good morning. This is Olu Fakwala Day of Idinka Ifa Temple. We thank you so much for tuning in with us. Today, we're going to have a really rejoicing process. So stay with us. I want to begin with morning prayers. Olodumare, Mojuba, Olodo, Mojuba Leda, Mojuba Lodo Mare, Mojuba Bobo Romale, Mojuba Bobo Male, Mojuba Boy, Tindili, Olodumare. Mojuba Shungode, Mojuba Agode, Mojuba Program, Mojuba Pro, Mojuba Flori, Mojuba Pala, Oriente, Mojuba Philips, Alowas, Mojuba Guntobi, Mojuba Mili, Mojuba Shamala, Mojuba Chalanko, Mojuba Metonade, Mojuba Shi, Mojuba, Shedman, Aref, Mojuba First, I won't baba, I feel back to Ashe. We call on the OGBA ITERO. He hears people's pleas and accept the pleas. He hears people's pleas and approves the pleas. He talks to people and ensures that the talk is completely absorbed. He hears people's pleas and accept the pleas. It's the name of Ifa. He hears people's pleas and approves pleas. It's the name of Shuada. He talks to people and ensures that the talk is completely absorbed. It's the name of Shanla. Or Shanla, you the person Mosin being. The person Mosin cannot fail to impress one. The strike frog is the windstorm is rainfall. The bull frog is windstorm is downpour. It is whatever the Akira do tree tells us what they accept. Whatever the big rat tells us what they accept. All what I tell you, please accept them and approve them. Share. Autorite, to show gratitude upon gratitude is the all of our gratitude. To display benevolence upon benevolence is the all of our benevolence. Whoever does not show gratitude for yesterday's benevolence, such a person will not receive today's utility. These were the declarations of Ifa. To the 401 in Rumala, I'm going to marry Opwe, the daughter of Ufuji. These were also declarations to Orumila when going to marry Opwe, the daughter of Ufuji. I am grateful. I see my Ututi. I'm grateful for yesterday's favor. I'll see today's Ututi. Oturete, we are very grateful. Awa dupe, awa bure, awa dupe, oh, awa bure. Adupe anawa okure tunebu, Olodumare, aladupe, awa bure, awa dupe, awa bure. Adupe anawa okure tunebu, Oriani, awa dupe, awa bure. Awadupe, awabure, adupe, anawa ukure tunebo irumole. Awadupe, awabure, awadupe, awabure, adupe, anawa ukure tunebo. Legun lorisha, all of the mind and divinity. We ask for forgiveness. Forgive us for anything that we have done incorrectly or wrong or any type of thing that we have done against our destiny. Pounded yam without soup can be very difficult to consume. These were the declarations of Ifa to a tutu the child of Agbenirego. He was full of bad character. He's badass because now we've come to solicit on behalf of Tutu. We've come to beg on behalf of Tutu. Father, please be patient. Overlook this provocation. Those who beg on behalf of Tutu. How many children does he have that he was casting out? Those who beg on behalf of Tutu. I said, we Father, we call on you. We ask you to forgive us, to support our reconciliation with you. We ask that you would assist us in attaining redemption. We call on OGBA ITERO. We ask you, Father, that you would ward off sickness, ward off cases, controversies, ward off fights, litigation, losses, and outright fights, ward off witchcraft and negative forces from us. Bring forth to us long life, wealth, good spouse, good children, peace of mind, joy, healing, victory, success, all the good things of life. Ward off all the challenges, death, sickness, cases, controversy, ward off fights, litigation, losses, and our fights, and bring to us once again long life, wealth, good spouse, good children, peace of mind, joy, healing, and all the wonderful things. Guide us, Father, direct us, protect us, and keep us safe. Lara, Orumla said it is time to sleep. I echoed it's time to sleep. When the day dawned, I met Orumla in the 16th room where he covered his head with a flowing gown full of lice. He was wearing a dress full of bloodstains. He was snoring heavily. They told him that a delegate from his disciple arrived. Orumla inquired what the delegate had brought. They told him they brought 2 rats swift and running, 2 fish graceful and swimming, 2 birds swift in flight, and 2 goats with big livers. Orumla said that is not enough to wake him up. I admit my ignorance. Please educate me. Montunaka Rabah, I hide myself in your bosom and survive. Montunaka Rabah, the dog Kang masquerade who beats the Agbadron repeatedly. The dog Kang masquerade who beats the Agbadron repeatedly to perform rituals because of children. You are the leaders. We are the followers. Leaders are the ones who show the followers wisdom. Orumla told them to get alligator pepper, cola nut, get bitter cola, to get alcohol. The capo got the cola, he got the bitter cola, he got the atari. You got the alcohol. That is right. It is now that he is fully awake. Orumila, when you are fully awake, please look at me with your eyes of compassion. It is with eyes of compassion that the heavenly stars use in looking at the stars below. Orumila, when you are fully awake, please look at me with your eyes of chart 1 to secure a good wealth. It is such good eyes that the heavenly stars use looking at the stars below. Orumila, when you are fully awake, please look at me with your eyes of chart 1 to secure a good spouse. It is such good odds my spouse should use and look at me with. Orumila, when you are fully awake, please look at me through eyes of chart 1 to bear many children. It is such good odds a child should use in looking at a well-decorated plate. Before long, not too far, join us in the midst of all evil in life. Sure. We call on the Odu, Oshetura, but before that, we ask that you would ward off our death, continue to ward off sickness, ward off cases and controversy, ward off fights, litigation, losses in our fights. Remove my ego out of the way so that we can hear a word of good Ifa from you. Bring to us all those good things at this time. Samuel Letori Ifa Lonimi, Ebora Timpanini, any Panami, Awati Ifa Lelejo. Before we call on Oshe Torah to manifest all of our prayers at this point. Oshe Torah. Tiny other feet of Tuba. Stripe of a chameleon is not big enough to use his headgear. Had it been enough to use his headgear, I would have taken it home and adorned my head with it. These are 5 decorations to Aruela. We're going on a spiritual mission to Jebulan. We've called on locusts and sun pay money. We've called on the salt tiller and make her rich. We've called on Oshe Aruela. Oshe Aruela is a Grawo. Oshe Torah. Ekeke Bagisa. The abstract sharply against the truth. Castify for Rumla when he says to Iba and I share from Olidamo. If in our world tells you should be wealthy, you surely be wealthy. Akeke Bagisa. In the mouth of an owl, Zazibana share. In the mouth of an owl, if no one check have joy, surely joy. I kick in a bagisa in the mouth of an owl, Zazibana share. In the mouth of an owl, if no teacher have all the good things of life, you should surely have all good things of life. I kick in a bagisa in the mouth of an owl, Zazibana share. In the mouth of an owl, to esi may be so, surely shall it be. Sure. Ashe Orisha, lenu mi o Ashe Orisha, lenu mi. Kobontima ba mama wi o irumole oba ifa oba o Ashe Orisha lenu mi. Ashe Bimo turo timo shure. Bimo pare timo shure. Bimo kule timo shure. Bimo joko timo shure. Ire timo su oritibo. Now, let us hold our head. Oriani larure yani ya. Oriani larure ani. Modulo mi fa wa mori. Oriani larure ani. Sure. Bobore chasu. Ifa ọba Ọlọ́run àti bàtàdù. Ifa ọba Ọlọ́run. Oshe Aru Ila Ifatibo. Olodumare and the divinities, we thank you for life, health, strength, food, clothing, shelter, healing, victory, all those wonderful things. We thank you. We also ask that you would continue to protect us from all the negativities of this world. Protect us from ourselves, even. Help us to make good judgment calls, to think correctly, to strive for success as we move through this world and move through this thing called life. Aboru, aboye, aboshishi, aboto. Thank you all so very much for joining us today. So today we have a particular subject, and I want to begin by honoring one of our dear, dear, dear sisters. So today at Idinka, we want to honor one of our sisters who passed away. Her name, Fainde Ansunjo, who passed away about 2 weeks ago due to a long struggle with illness. I want to send special love to her husband, Khalid, and her brothers and her sisters, all her family members, her teachers, those who supported her along this process and this path. But I also want to remind all of us that our sister lived her eulogy. She loved Ifa, she loved Egbe, she loved Oshun, and she was dedicated to the Irumole. She was dedicated to Olodumare. She lived a life of good character. So it is no doubt in my mind where our sister is and where she is going. She has been relieved of the pain of this life and the illness. She is indeed on to the next assignment. Today, I want to rejoice about her new assignment and give us all an idea of what that assignment may be. So for today, let us wipe away the tears and remember the good times, knowing that soon we will meet again. As Ifa followers, we all must know, we all must understand that death is indeed not the end. We continue on after this physical death. As Brother Jay of X Clan said, living to die and I die to live again, 360 degrees, comprehend. Life is a cycle. We are born, we live, we die, and we are reborn in order to live again. Those who pass on are venerated as ancestors. The ancestral realm is a place where we can resolve some of the challenges, some of the traumas, and we can become rejuvenated and reborn. When the inevitable happens, where do we as Ifa followers go? We go to Ikoleo room. This is the heavenly home. The concept of the afterlife for Odua Yoruba practitioners is very, very practical. Living a good life, living a life of good character, that is what will allow us to get in to Ikole Orun. Even if you do not do good deeds on this earth, when you arrive in Ikole Orun, you must account for all of those deeds that you've done. For the Ifa follower, there is no general concept of hell. Yet, the reality is that dying without achieving your purpose is the closest thing to hell. Because one, even in the afterlife, is dwelling in a place of regret. Imagine living a life that is not your purpose. There's a despair in such a life. When death comes, we're reminded of all our deeds, both good and bad. When our good deeds have outweighed our bad, that is when we have arrived. When we have truly arrived and we have also been initiated to Ifa, that is when we are entered into the inner sanctums of Ikole Orun. So living a good life of good character and being initiated to Ifa is the process of getting to this place called OGBA ITERO. And in terms of OGBA ITERO, this place is the garden of absolute bliss, of perfect perpetual peace. I want to talk about that. But before I get to the concept of Ikole or the concept of OGBA ITERO, let us talk about this process of moving from the living state to the state of beyond. Oturmele Ifa says, the wise ones know those secretly shooting arrows at them. The villagers know the city dwellers, the living and the dead, they know each other. The living and the dead, they will see each other when the time comes. The ants will never disperse for them to meet and assemble together again. These were Ifa's messages to the people of the world when mourning the dead. Where man comes from is where he had returned. Ifa is saying here that indeed, Ikole Orun, heaven is our home. We will spend a certain amount of time here on earth, but we must go back. We must pay that debt. And the other thing is that when we go back, all of those who had been here, we will assemble again. We will not just go and be detached. We will go, and those who we knew, those who we loved, those who we were valued, who valued each other here, will also value each other there. So it is important to hold that in mind, that this is not the end. This is not the break of the connection. In terms of this, what must we do in order to have the blessed and good condition? How do we really, really get into Ikole Orun? Ifa says in Oyeku Logbe, as I woke up, I listened and nurtured Ifa. As I walk the path, I follow the footsteps of the sacred palm tree. I can't branch anyone's house forever. Cast Ifa for the liars, and cast Ifa for the wicked, and cast Ifa for the ones who have good hearts. The liars died and were buried in the forest of burning fire. The wicked died and were buried among the scorching hot sun. And the ones with good hearts, died and were buried with expensive gold and silver. If you remember the death of God, you will speak the truth. Those who speak the truth are whom Olodumare supports. Ifa is saying here that it is good to speak truth. Speaking truth is analogous to living a good life and having a good heart. Individuals who live a bad or horrible life of bad character, these individuals will end up regretting that once they get to the great beyond. And also, as they live this life, Ifa is saying the good thing to do is to make other people happy. The people who were supposed to be sad, that you assist in making them happy. That is the best thing, because that will create a good name. That will really reveal a good name for yourself in this world. Having a good name is the best thing. Having a bad reputation is something that is regrettable, something that we don't want. Ifa says in the Odu, Oyeku Oshe, if we do not die young, we will be happy. If we live a long life in poverty, it brings sadness. Anytime death comes, let us be grateful to Olodumare. That is the policy of the truthful person. These were the declarations of Ifa to the 6 elders when they were going to Ife to ask questions from Orumila. Why was it that human beings die? Orumila responded that Olodumare used death as benevolence for human beings. Any river that does not flow forward and does not flow backward, that river becomes a pond. And the pond becomes full of filth. And the river is carrying them forward, and the river is carrying them backwards. Let the ill person go and bring a new body back into the world. Ifa is saying here that death at times can be a welcome friend. Death is the servant of Olodumare. And when I say it like that, what I mean is in immense pain, in immense despair and degradation, Ifa is saying that Olodumare uses Eku, uses death as a tool to assist the human spirit in being reborn, rejuvenated, renovated. So this force that oftentimes we may revile or hate, we must understand the necessity for this, because for one to live a long time in despair is not favorable as well. When you are suffering greatly, when there is too much pain, too much destructiveness to carry on, Olodumare uses Eku as a form of help to replenish us. So, in terms of this, I want to talk more about the concept of Ikole and OGBA ITERO, and also the idea of when an Awo passes, what must we do? So in the Odu Ifa, Ogbedi, Ifa says, Agba drums are falling on other Agba drums, and Ogidan drums are falling on other Ogidan drums, and Epwese drums are falling on other Epwese drums. This was the message of Ifa for Ewu, who was initiated to Ifa with Ikin that were earlier used by Ororo for initiation. He was advised to offer Ebo. He refused to comply. Behold, he is carrying away his Ikin. He is taking away his Ikin. Can't you see Ororo, who is taking away his Ikin together with Ewu? He is taking away his Ikin. So I said before that it is our good deeds that get us into Ikole Orun. It is our good deeds that get us into the heavenly place, into a good condition. But it is our Ikin that get us into those other inner sanctums. What happened in this Odu? There was a man by the name of Ororo, and he was a very, very astute, very strong Babalao. And what ended up occurring is as he offered his abos and he was doing his good things, he grew old. And as he grew old, it came time for him to pass. He passed away and he left a great legacy. He left such a great legacy that his family members, in the form of Ewu, were like, wow, he has left such an incredible legacy. What I mean in terms of this great legacy is that his legacy was such that individuals wanted to be like him because he had so much wisdom. He had so many insights as a Babalao. And so Ewu allowed for the burial of Ororo. And when it came time for Ewu to be initiated to Ifa, he chose to be initiated with the Ikin of Ororo because he assumed, man, if Ororo is so good, he's so good at Ifa, maybe I will have the same prosperity, the same knowledge, the same wisdom, the same ability as him if I too am initiated with his Ikin. And what ended up happening is he maintained and was using Ororo's Ikin. He was casting Ifa and doing everything that he did, and he was using the Ikin of someone who had passed away. Meanwhile, while Ororo was in Ikole room, he was moving about and he knew he had another assignment. He had another job to do when he was in Ikole Arun, and he was to be in the good place of OGBA ITERO. And we'll talk more about what OGBA ITERO is and what the job of individuals there is. But Ororo was trying to get in, and he couldn't get in because he did not have his Ikin. So he kept trying to send gentle messages to Ewu. I need my Ikin so that I can transition on. I can move on into the good condition. I need my Ikin. He's sending these messages spiritually, even to the point where Ewu goes and casts Ifa. And the Babalao says, you were initiated with a man who had passed away. You were initiated with his Ikin. You must bury the Ikin with him so that he can have passage into OGBA ITERO. And Ewu grew angry. He said, you want to take away my basically my good luck Ikin. You want to take away my family heirloom Ikin? No, I will never give it up. And he kept using them, kept using them, and kept using them until finally Ororo came back, spiritually came back in order to claim his Ikin. And when he came to get his Ikin, he also took Ewu with him. So what I look at that as is there is this need for the other side, for us to have this spiritual set of Ikin, to support the Babalawo, the Anifa, in their transition into the next phase. It is our good deeds that get us into Ikole, but it is our Ikin that support us in going into the deeper levels of that great beyond. And when we see this Odu, what is being said is that Ororo was willfully buried incorrectly. And as we as Ifa followers, it's so very important for us to know and be around those who will follow the precepts so that everything can be done correctly. And the Odu Ogberete, this Odu is going to stress that we must do good deeds and pay attention to the signs. And also, bad deeds have their own consequence. In Ogbe Ate Ifa says, to my right hand do I receive all ire in life in the domain of Olodumare. In the domain of Olodumare does one find themselves on a new mat, new ore mat, and benevolent pillows. These were Fat's declarations to Shebi Shebi, he who caters to the welfare of his family. When going into the domain of Olodumare, he was advised to offer abo. With my left hand do I receive all free gifts. In the domain of Olodumare. In the domain of Olodumare does one find themselves on new ore mats and benevolent pillows. These we Fat's declarations to Sharasara, he who looks after the well-being of his fellows. When going to the domain of Olodumare, he too was advised to offer abo. Eliminate the elder along with the younger sibling, for the whole household to have something to cry over. These we Fat's declarations to Shika Shika, the evildoer. When going into the domain of Olodumare, he was advised to offer ebo. Please tell Shebi Shebi, let him continue to take good care of his family. Please inform Shara Shara, let him continue to take good care of his family. The wicked one is at the boundary, still narrating his stories of wickedness. So in this Ifa, there was a family of boys, a family of boys that were going to come into the world. They were being born, about to be born. One was Shebi Shebi, and his name meant the one who caters to his family, who does good things for his family. When Shebi Shebi was coming into the world, he got into the realm of Olodumare, where he was speaking his destiny in Jalamopun, and he was speaking his destiny. And Olodumare asked him what he wanted to do. Olodumare had a destiny for him. He said, I want to come into the world and do good things for my family. Olodumare approved and allowed Shebi Shebi to come into the world with good things and with Olodumare's excitement and joy. Shara Shara, when it came time for him to be born, he too went into the realm of Ajalamopin and was speaking his destiny. And Olodumare asked him, what is it that you want to come into the world and do? Sarasara said, I would like to cater to the well being of my community members. I want to do good for them. And Olodumare said, that is great. What a great idea. Please go into the world and do good things. When it came time for Shika Shika to be born, he went into the realm of Olodumare and Shinshenti Tsoro, and of Ajala Mupin, and he spoke his destiny. Olodumare asked him, what is it that you would like to do? He said that he wanted to come into the world and do evil. He wanted to ensure that everyone cried, that he would take out all the family members and the loved ones. And Olodumare said, are you sure that's what you want to do? And Shika Shika continued, that's what I wanted to do. Olodumare said, I have a better purpose for you. Shika Shika denied that purpose and insisted on coming into the world to do evil. So all of them eventually came into the world with their respective destinies. You see, one's destiny is threefold. Akuleyan, that which is received while kneeling. Akunlegba, that which is given while kneeling. So I one's Akunleyan is what they say they want their destiny to be, what you say you want your destiny to be before you come into this world. Akunlegba is what the Irumole support you in accomplishing the destiny that you said. And then last but not least is one's Ayamo. And that Ayamo is the aspect of destiny that cannot be changed. So I say that to say that even if Shika Shika chose a bad destiny, there are things that can be done once he gets into the world to assist in helping him to change. And also, if Shika Shika has a destiny to cause harm to, he chooses to make his destiny causing harm to Sebi Sebi and Sarasar. Sebi Sebi and Sarasar also have their own ability to change that. All right. So, in terms of this, Sebi Sebi had a dream. And he had a dream that was horrible. When he was older, he had a dream, oh my goodness, that he was going to die, that a challenge was coming. He went to Castifa, and the Babalao said, you need to offer a bow in order to prevent a situation where someone who hates you will kill you. Sebi Sebi was like, that's absurd. I do good things for my family. How is it that anybody would want to harm me? So Sebi Sebi decided not to offer a bow because he couldn't fathom anybody wanting to do him harm. Shortly thereafter, his younger brother, Shika Shika, invited him, or he had come over to speak to Sebi Sebi, and he offered him drink. And when he gave him this drink, it was a poison that acted very quickly. And that poison killed Sebi Sebi. And Shika Shika rejoiced because he had carried out his plan of eliminating his brother. I mean, his brother was doing all this good in the world, and everybody looked at him with favor. And Shika Shika looked at that as like a punk move. Shika Shika looked at that as if, nobody is really that good. So he killed his brother. And after he killed his brother, he covered the crime up very well. And the family took Sebi Sebi and they mourned and they mourned. And the first one at the casket was Shika Shika, crying his eyes out. Oh my God, Lord, take me, take me. This is what he was saying. And everyone was trying to console Shika Shika because he was crying the worst. So then Sarah Sarah, shortly thereafter, he too has a dream of pain and drama and trauma. And he was thinking, oh my goodness, I feel Iku coming. What can I do? He goes and casts Sifa, and the Babalao says, Sarah Sarah, there's someone who wants to kill you. Someone hates you. And Sarah Sarah also felt like, man, how could anybody hate me when I do so many good deeds for the public? Why would anyone hate me? And he refused to offer a bow. Shortly thereafter, his brother, Shika Shika, invited him to a rendezvous point to just sit and discuss the loss of their brother, Sebi Sebi. And they were eating, and Shika Shika had placed poison in Sarah Sarah's food. And I think he either did that or he choked him. Either way, Sarah Sarah died. And Shika Shika rejoiced, and he covered the murder up. And the community mourned once again as they buried Sarah Sarah. Shika Shika was like smirking to himself, but he put on that act when they were putting Sarah Sarah into the ground. He cried the most, he mourned the hardest, and everyone looked at Shika Shika as this victim. Needless to say, since Shika Shika had gotten away with 2 murders, he decided to continue to murder for the remainder of his life. And he did it, he lived a long time. And he was murdering and harming people, double crossing people, and doing all sorts of evil. And it got to a point where people suspected Shika Shika was evil, but they didn't have any hard evidence. So they just avoided him. And they avoided him so much to where Shika Shika boarded himself up in his home when he was no longer strong enough to go out and do bad things. He stayed in his house, and he would send messengers to go get food and drink for him and leave it at the door. When he got too immobile to leave the bed, he began to defecate and urinate in containers and just leave them around in his house. And finally, he died. And when he died, there was a horrible, horrible stench coming from the household. People assumed the worst, and they went to do a wellness check and discovered that Shika Shika had indeed died. Initially, folks tried to come in and retrieve the remains, but because there was so much filth and bacteria in that house, individuals would fall, cut themselves, and because of the infection and the disease in that household, they too would get sick and die. So people relented that, we don't even want to go in there anymore. We've lost so many people trying to retrieve his remains. So they decided to just burn the whole house down. And they burned the house down. Then, after that, Shika Shika finally made it to Ikole room. And as he went to Ikole room, he was there and he was like, oh, this is cool. Oh, wow, there go my brothers. He could see his brothers in the distance. And there was a boundary there. He saw Sarah, he saw Sebi Sebi, and Shika Shika still had this weird, sick, and twisted love for them. And he was, hey, brothers, hey, how you doing? I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. He starts yelling at Sebi Sebi and Sar Sar. And Eshul Dar was there, and he said, oh, they can't hear you. They're in OGBA ITERO. You have to stay here. And Shika was mad, like, man, what did I do? I didn't do anything to be denied access to OGBA ITERO. And Eshu says, well, why don't you tell me all the bad deeds that you've done? Why don't you confess everything that you've done wrong? And Shika was so accustomed to lying that he lied to himself. Well, um, I lied a couple of times. I did a couple of bad things, but nothing major. And Eshu looked at him and then took two very, very, very hot coals and put them on each one of his toes. And he said, I want you to tell me everything that you did. And Shika's shifting side to side, and he then begins to recount all his stories. That's why that verse says, the wicked one is at the boundary, still narrating his stories of wickedness. Why do I say this verse? Why do I tell this story? It is because even though Shar Shar and Sebi Shebi did not offer a bow, they still made it into OGBA ITERO because of what they did. Shika did horrible deeds on this earth, but his life was even more horrible. Like, he lived a deplorable existence. His bad deeds reflected on his life. And then when he got into Ikole Orun, he couldn't breach past into OGBA ITERO. He just sat there in misery looking at those who had done good deeds. He couldn't even receive the full benefits of Ikole Orun. All he could do was recount his negative deeds. And I would say that Shika is probably still there recounting those negative deeds. Ifa says in the Odu Otura Menchi, a versatile Babalawo is he who wakes up and imprints on the Opon Ifa. A veteran Onishegun herbalist is he who wakes up and presses his hand firmly against Shigidi, molded images, press that on his chest. A great Orisha worshiper is he who wakes up and adorns himself with right dresses. Alumo. Kerebete, the resident Awo of Agboniregun. Alumo. Kerebete, the resident Awo of Agboniregun. He was Awo Castifa for Orumila when coming from Orun to Aye. He was advised to offer a bow. He complied. I will be very wealthy here on earth before I return to heaven. Alumo Kerebete, please record this. You're going into the world shall be successful, and your returning to heaven shall be rewarding. Alumo Kerebete, record it. I will have a good spouse here on earth before I return to Orun. Alumo Kerebete, you shall be successful, and your return shall be rewarding. Alumo Kerebete, I shall build many houses on this earth before I return to Orun. Alumo Kerebete, you shall be successful, and your return shall be rewarding. Alumo Kerebete, I shall become old and feeble on this earth before I return. Alumo Kerebete, your going shall be successful, and your return shall be rewarding. Alumo kerebete. I shall have all Ire on earth before I return. Alumo kerebete. Please record it. This you're going, excuse me, shall be successful, and your return shall be rewarding. Alumo kerebete. This Ifa of Otrameji. This says that your going into the world shall be successful, but your returning into Orun shall be rewarding. What Ifa is saying here, anybody who gets this Odu when we cast that Adawole, Adawole is the Odu that we cast for a person who's deceased. Ifa is telling us clearly that this person is going to OGBA ITERO. This person has lived a life where they will enter in to the inner sanctums. And what does it mean to be in OGBA ITERO? OGBA ITERO is, as I said before, the garden of perpetual peace, perpetual bliss. But it's not just that. Our good deeds are our passport into Ikole Orun. Our Ikin is the visa that allows us into OGBA ITERO. And OGBA ITERO is a place where these great, great, great high level spiritual and compassionate elders live in the spirit realm. And they still have jobs to do. They still have things that they must do. They still must come back into the world. But in this place, they choose if they want to come back or not, and how they want to come back and what they want to do. They choose, well, I want to come and guide this situation. I want to help this individual offer a bow to transform that situation, that negativity in the world. I want to assist them, and they are using their king in Orun to support the things that are happening here on earth. This place of OGBA ITERO is the place to strive for as Ifa practitioners. Because when we think of the aspects of where does one get inspiration to document Ifa verse and Ifa corpus and Ifa incantation, where is that? The inspiration is coming from OGBA ITERO. The Awols in that place, they're working, they're doing their job. And they are assisting many of us in accomplishing our destiny here. So when we say that OGBA ITERO is this place of perpetual bliss, it is also a place where we, as good Awols, can go to and return and do good things and continue the work of bringing good into this world. It is my opinion that our sister will continue the process of bringing good into the world, even from the other side. Let us all hope and pray that when it is that time for us, we too can enter into Ikole Orun and enter into OGBA ITERO and do the work that will be necessary to bring even more good into this world. Thank you all so much. Thank you very much for listening and tuning in with us today. So, once again, this is Idinka Ifa Temple. We want to thank you for joining us. We want to also share with you some of the things that will be coming forward in the coming weeks. So, our Oluo, Chief Shalagbere Popola, is in town. He's coming to town, and he will be in LA. I'm not sure for how long. I'm thinking it's going to be about 2 weeks. So he will be actually surprising us. He may be coming in sooner than we think. But I will tell you, he should be, today's the 19th. So he should be here by perhaps the 21st, 22nd. And we will be doing a tefa. So those of you who are interested in a tefa, you can contact myself. Or we will also be traveling. I'll be traveling with Chief Popola in April. The early part of April, we'll be leaving from LA and going to Miami. I believe the days there will be around April 6th till probably April 10th or 12th. So those of you who are interested in a tefa, hands of Ifa, Ifa divination, please contact me. We can organize that. And also, if you're wanting a tefa here in LA, it will be kind of a quick, what I mean by that is going to be kind of quick in terms of making the decision for this week. But if you're interested in Miami, please contact us and we will help organize that for you. We have some things coming together. Also, the third Thursday of this month, which should be coming up, we will be doing our Makings of Men. So that will be on the 23rd. So the 23rd, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will be doing Makings of Men, which is our Ifa Men Circle. So those of you who are interested, please join us. I'll be making the flyer very soon, and you can just tune in to that. Also, I want to send thanks and shout outs to Baba Anthony McFarlane of Okanasode Temple in Miami. So he and his family are supporting us in this coordination, and he's also part of our family, part of Shekundarin. I want to also thank all of my family members, my wife, Ifa Domininu, for supporting me in doing this process and allowing me to do this work. Also, my parents, my sister, all of these folks in supporting us and accomplishing this process, because it is a production that takes a lot of work to pull together. So I thank everyone for assisting us in doing that. So if you like the things that we're doing, please support, please like, support, please share, and donate if you are so interested. We thank you for joining us, and I want to close us out with prayer. Olodumare, we thank you for life, health, strength, food, clothing, and shelter. We thank you for guiding us in this path of Ifa. We ask that you would support us and help us to continue to live this good life and this good condition, and help us to achieve Ekole Orun, and help us to achieve that of OGBA ITERO. Help us to live long and enjoy life. But when that time comes, help us to go to the right place. Abora.
Alone for this time, returning to the peace of mind.